Everybody see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, primer on print competition. Okay, so I'm
Yep.
going to go ahead and start the slideshow. And I just inserted a slide there. That's good. All right. So my name is Joseph Gitter. I'm the print chair, and I'm going to talk about some of the things to consider when you're entering print competition for the first time, as well as some changes we're making to the fall 2020 print competition. So why enter print competition? It's a way to challenge yourself to bring your photographic skills to a higher level. It also helps you learn how to improve your photographic skills and to earn recognition and admiration from your peers. And once the quality of your photography work improves, it actually improves your business. More clients are going to come to you because you're going to be able to separate yourself more from the people that are shoot and burn photographers. It's also motivational. It helps you grow as a person and as a photographer. Of course, you can earn degrees locally and nationally, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And peer mentorship. It gives you an opportunity to get feedback from your peers, from IPC jurors at times who are judges or speakers at PPofN events, conferences. And then, you know, when you're in your master's degree, you can be in that role and provide mentorship and support to other members. And it's the first step in the print competition journey if you haven't done it already. In a normal year, the fall print competition, which is in essence to prepare for the annual print competition, and then based on the feedback from the annual print competition, you would enter districts, and we're in the North Central District, and then the IPC. So by the time you enter the IPC, you've gotten a lot of feedback on the images you entered originally in the fall print competition and the PPofN annual print competition. 2020 is by no means a normal year. It's a very abnormal year. So we had the print PPN fall print competition last fall, which was a preparation for the annual. But we're going to be having the PPofN fall print competition prior to the IPC. Normally that would happen after the IPC. So what makes this unique is that the fall print competition for PPofN is actually going to serve two purposes. It's going to give you an opportunity to get feedback on images that you're preparing to send to IPC. And you didn't, you know, there were no districts this year, which is, districts are usually the best way to do that. But it's also going to be an opportunity to test images that you'd like to enter in the PPofN annual print competition in February. Another option, of course, is to enter other PPA affiliate print comps, which I know a number of PPofN members have done because I've seen their images coming through and I've judged. And I'll talk about at the end, PPA is offering I think it's $10 critiques to anybody who wants to submit an image to a print competition. And they're giving you, if you're a PPA member, a $30 credit. In the future, one of the things we've been talking about is actually increasing the number of opportunities for people to enter images in print competition to get them evaluated. And what a lot of PPA affiliates do is they have more than one print competition. So Nebraska and Iowa, I know, have the fall print competition as kind of a preparation for the annual. But one of the things we've been looking at is actually making the summer/fall print competition a print competition that matters, that counts. So you'd pick your top 4 and send those to districts and onto the IPC. So that's something we're talking about doing in the future. So the levels of PPA competition, and I talked about these briefly. The first level is the PPA affiliate print competitions. And we're going to provide the opportunity for you to order critiques, something we didn't do before, but we're going to start doing that. But if you enter other PPE affiliate print competitions, they will typically allow you to order critiques as well. But when you sit in, and hopefully you do get the opportunity to either to listen online during the print competition if it's done virtually, and I think they will be for a while now. Take note of what the judges say, not just of your images, but everyone's images, because that's one of the best ways to learn and get feedback. And then if you can, make changes and enter the image again and tweak it. Sometimes it's those little tweaks make a huge difference in the overall score. And if you're happy with it and you think you've got it to the point where you really can't or shouldn't do any more changes to it, then you should consider entering in district competition or in this year IPC. Level 2, and I talked about this, is the districts, which is canceled in 2020. Normally the way that works though is you take the images from your annual print competition that did well, and you make tweaks based on feedback, and you enter those into districts. And if an image merits in districts, it receives what is called a seal. And it will, as long as you pay for that image to be entered into the IPC, it will automatically merit at the IPC. It won't be looked at again at the IPC, but basically districts in the past has been an opportunity for you to get your image merited up front, if you will. And then the final level, of course, is the IPC. And the IPC is when you receive a merit at the IPC, it goes towards your national degrees. So if you're interested in, if you're a portrait photographer or landscape photographer, that would be in the category of photographic open. If you're a wedding photographer, they have a new category, a master of wedding photography. And then of course, the artist, master artist. So you need 13 print merits in each of those, for each of those degrees. And the only way you can receive those is by having a print merit at the IPC, either by getting a merit at districts and submitting it to the IPC, or getting a merit at the IPC. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the PPofN degree program. We have a number of degrees, professional photographer in Nebraska does. And this is just a summary of what they are. They're a combination typically of service credits and print credits, but in some cases are only service credits. So, and these are credits you earned, PPN credits, not IPC credits, not the same as, the name credits is used is not to cause confusion between merits, which you receive from IPC, and credits, which you would receive from PPofN. So for 15 service credits and 10 print credits, you get Associate Fellow Photography, which is a red ribbon with a silver medallion, which is the one in the center there, I believe, in that diagram. And then the Fellow Photography degree is additional 30 service credits and 20 print credits, which I believe is the blue ribbon on the right-hand side. And then the Honorary Fellow Photography degree, which has to be approved by the Board of Directors. And that's the one on the left-hand side. And you have also service degrees here, which are listed. And all of this information is in the, if you go to the PPofN website, it contains all of this information. So the image judging process. So you typically have a panel of 3 to 5 highly experienced photographers with special training as jurors. For an annual print competition, you typically have 5 judges, or certainly for an IPC or a district competition, you'd have 5 judges and a jury, a jury chair. But for like monthly, some PPA affiliates have monthly or quarterly competitions, and they typically go with 3 judges. So for the fall print competition on September 11th, we're going to have only 3 judges, but they are IPC affiliated judges, which is important because you're getting judges that have a lot of experience in judging, and they're going to be indicative of what you might see for the IPC. Okay, I just got a message that I've got people waiting to come into the presentation, so give me a second here. I'm not exactly, gotta exit full screen here. Here we go. So let me go back to Zoom. Okay, go back to share screen. Okay, thanks for those people that just joined us. Image judging process. I talked about the fact that you typically have 5 judges for annual PP affiliate annual, district, or IPC competitions, and 3 for monthly or quarterly competitions. Every image is judged based on its own merits. So, you know, there's a lot of times in my own experience judging where I will see images of the same subject come up. And, you know, after a while, admittedly, it becomes a little monotonous, but you have to you have to tell yourself, I'm going to judge this image based on what I'm looking at. The fact that I've seen 16 um, product photographs of a left-handed spaghetti stretcher, uh, you know, is irrelevant. I'm going to look at how good this photograph of a left-handed spaghetti stretcher is and evaluate it on its own merits. So the way it works is when the judges vote, the average of the jurors' score becomes a panel score. And if there's a discrepancy, which I'll talk about in a minute, there will be an opportunity to challenge that score as too high or too low. So during the challenge, each juror will speak either for or against the image, and a revote will take place after the challenger has final remarks. So he or she will say in rebuttal, you know, and they do listen to the advice and suggestions of the other panelists. So one of the things, you know, and jurors do get evaluated, and one of the things they get evaluated on is how well they play in the sandbox. You know, do they work with each other, and you know, if another juror has an issue to point out, is it, you know, do they listen to them and take it seriously, and so on and so forth. And so most people that enter print competition, a lot of people that enter print competition, I would say roughly usually about 2/3 of the people that enter print competition typically don't merit. Usually it's about a half to a third, depending on the quality of the images. A lot of times people will get 78s and 79s, which are above average. Sometimes you'll see judges go down to below exhibition standards. It doesn't happen very often. And if you guys follow on in this presentation, I'm going to try to prevent that from happening to you. But it does happen sometimes. And certainly 85 to 89 is excellent, 90 to 94 is superior, and 95 to 100 is exceptional. So those are the categories. And we have cards, I believe we can hand out, or when we're in person anyway, that talk about the different categories. We also have all of this information, as I said before, on the PPofN website. So the majority challenge takes place, the jury chair will see it, when the minority of the panel either is for or against an image. So you might have, for example, you know, 3 of the jurors, 4 of the jurors might say, you know, it's in the merit category, and another one might say, no, it's not. That would just go as is. But and sometimes the jury chair will let those go. But if you do have a situation where that is influencing the outcome, in other words, you might have 2 jurors that are in the 70s and 2 in the lower 80s that are influencing the outcome. There will be a majority challenge, and they will discuss that. And after they discuss it, they will rescore the image. And if that happens a second time, the score stands. So they don't go another round. The reason they did that in the past, some of you may remember, I'm sure Misty probably remembers, that any images that were in 78 or 79 were brought back again for the judges to look at, and they would do a thumbs up or thumbs down. So this majority challenge approach is really in place of that old system of thumbs up, thumbs down for the 78s and 79s. So some of the insights from judging, jurors are expected to score an image within 20 seconds. So they have to make an assessment fairly quick. And after practice, you'd be surprised at how good some of them are at doing that. They don't subtract points from 100 to arrive at the score. In other words, they don't say, well, this is 100, but this is wrong with it, and this is wrong with it, so I'm going to take 10 points off or 20 points off. No, what they do is they will place it in a category. They'll say, okay, this belongs in the merit category. This belongs in the excellent category. And they will place it within that category. So if they feel that it's really a strong image, it's worthy of a merit, but not quite up in the excellent category, they might give it an 83 or an 84. If they think it's a nice image, and they could go either way, but they think the preponderance is that it lands in the merit category, they might give it an 80 or an 81. What you'll find is the best panels have a mixture of photographers. And when I say a mixture, I mean that in a number of different ways. It's always best to have, demographics that are representative of PP of A, PPofN. So it's always good to have at least one juror who is a woman, if not more, because they may see things differently. If you have all guys on a panel and they're looking at photographs of a newborn baby, they may not give it the care and attention that it deserves. Likewise, you also have photographers that are very technical. And you're going to see this more in the IPC, that will look at an image and they'll go after the technical aspect of it and not the emotional side. Sometimes the jurors are more on the emotional side. This image speaks to me, or it made me feel a certain way. So that's what you're going to see as you watch more and more judging. And I would say that most judges do, for the most part, fall into one of those arenas. So this is a diagram. I think Brian Welsh actually did this, and I like it. What it does is it takes the 12 elements of a merit print and it divides them up into kind of left brain and right brain. So so impact is one of the 12 merits, but I believe a lot of people view the impact as being one of the more important elements, because if the image comes around and doesn't have impact, it's not going to cause the judges to really give it a very good score. So you have the left brain, which is, the technical excellence, the color balance, presentation, lighting, the technique that was used, the composition, the center of interest. Those are kind of left brain stuff. Then the right brain stuff is the creativity, style, subject matter, storytelling. So I like this diagram because it's a good way for me to remember the 12 elements of a merit print. I'm going to talk very briefly about the print competition categories. And again, this is all on the website. So we have album, and that includes both event and non-event albums. So, events would be weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthdays, anniversaries, etc. And non-events would be, images that, may be taken of a nature situation. It could be anything, wildlife. And you can also have multi-maker albums. So I don't think I've ever seen one, but, well, actually I did see one in the Grand Imaging Awards. But usually they're a single maker, but if you can have more than one person contribute to an album, and that's another way of getting a high quality album, because sometimes it's difficult to get a lot of images for an album. And typically the way judges look at it is that every image in the album needs to be a merit image quality of merit quality image. Commercial, we're going to try to expand that a little bit more, but you know, that's, I'm seeing this like window here. I got to get rid of that real quick here. Having some computer issues. Let's move that aside. There we go. No, it's not cooperating with me. Okay, I'm gonna go back. So commercial is, could be a simple executive headshot, but a lot of times it's product photography. I know we have a lot of food photographers in PPofN. Could be real estate photography. We're pretty open on that, but the idea is that it was a photograph that was taken to help sell, advertise, or market a product, service, or person. And then illustrative, that's anything that's typically not people. Well, it could be people, it could be in the sporting or photojournalism category, but oftentimes it's nature, wildlife, abstract stuff that falls into illustrative. And then portraits, certainly you know what portraits are. And any wedding images that are taken separate from the wedding, not as part of the event, could be entered under portrait, but they can't be entered under wedding. Wedding images have to be taken as part of the actual event within the time constraints of an actual event. And then wedding, and then the Nebraska category. We had that category for the first time for the PPofN annual print competition. And they have to be representative of the state in some way. They have to be captured in the state of Nebraska. Good examples of that might be landscape images of parts of Nebraska. But I think we had an image last year. It was some farm animals, sheep, I believe, that won the category. And something new we're going to do for fall is we are going to be having an award for the Nebraska Photograph of the Year based on the interest of the Nebraska category. And that will be free to anybody who wants to enter. We're not charging that. It's not part of your case. You get to enter that for free. And we're going to be awarding that. We're going to be allowing people to compete for that for the fall print competition instead of the annual print competition. And then that will be awarded at the fall conference. So another category we don't see a lot of is creative open. And it's basically where you take some of the elements, it's a composite typically, but a number of the images were taken by you, but you may add a digital background or other elements. And so for those, you have to have guide images of anything that you didn't photograph. So an example of that might be if you did a sports composite and you had a football player in front of a football stadium, and you got the background, you bought it from somebody like Ben Shirk or one of those. You would have to show the background that you used, but you wouldn't have to show the image that you shot because it would be understood that you shot that. Now, artist, which used to be called electronic imaging, is similar, but in that case, typically what you're doing is you're using images, photographs, portraits, graphics, or other artwork that you didn't shoot, and you're putting it together in a composite. And in that case, the judges are strictly looking at how well, of course they're looking at the 12 elements, but they're also looking at how difficult it was and how well you did at developing that composite. So our upcoming fall print competition is Friday, September 11th, right around the corner. And as an incentive for first-time PPofN print competition entrants, we are, for first-time entrants, they can enter 2 images for score only for free. So when you go to sign up, it's basically what you would do, and we do this on the honor system, basically. So let's say you just wanted to submit 4 images, and 2 of the images, um, so for score only, the entrance fee, if you do it before the deadline, is $10. So you'd only essentially pay $20 to have your 4 images judged, which is a pretty good deal. And as I said before, the Nebraska Photograph of the Year category, you can enter that for free, and it doesn't count towards your case. Some of the other changes from recent years. So in the past, we had 8x10s. And I think the idea there was it was encouraging people to print out their images and show them, which is a good idea. But especially since we're only doing a digital competition this year, trying to have people maintain that 8x10 aspect ratio doesn't make a lot of sense. So what we're replacing the 8x10s with just regular entries. And the storyboard entries, which were always a separate category, are considered one entry, and they don't have a separate fee structure, just to make it simple. The storyboard category in the past was we had high school seniors, and we also had like landscape and other categories. This year, we're just going to keep it to high school seniors, and that's for the purpose of determining the Senior Photographer of the Year. And as I said, the Nebraska Photographer of the Year is also going to be awarded at the fall conference. So the awards we have are the Senior Photographer of the Year award, which we've always had based on the storyboards. First place senior adult male and then female storyboards, which is separate and distinct. We're also going to give out a top image award, which is going to be based on all of the images people enter on a head-to-head comparison by the judges. So I'm sure that the judges will probably, look at the images and quickly winnow them down to the ones they think are worthy, and have some debate and make a decision on which image receives the top image award. And then we have, instead of what we did last year for the storyboards, we're going to be having a Best in Show award for each category. So for open illustrative, open portrait, open commercial, creative open artist, and Nebraska Photograph of the Year, we will have a Best in Show award for those categories. File preparation and submission. I don't want to go into a lot of detail on this because it's all on the website, and it's also on printcompetition.com. Some of the things that are helpful, and I'm going to cover a number of things here. Use short titles, easy to pronounce, no abbreviations, no foreign phrases. Occasionally you'll see people enter images in print competition. They'll say image 1, image 2, image 3. Don't do that. So there are actually classes that people offer on how to name an image, but I usually try to come up with something that's punchy and think about how people might interpret it. I like to tell the story of, I entered an image in the print competition of an old abbey that I took in Ireland. And it was built in I think it was the 1500s. Very old abbey, very beautiful. But it was the ruins of an abbey, really. But the name of the abbey was Hore Abbey, H-O-R-E. Well, when they read the title off during the print competition and said Hore Abbey, not only did the judges get a chuckle out of it, they didn't rate the image very high, because I think the title really hurt it, because they looked at it as an oxymoron or something. But poor choice on my part. I wasn't thinking, but just be careful about titles, and try to tell titles that help tell the image's story. And that really appeals to the emotional side of the judges that have a more emotional side. The next thing is something you should keep in mind when we get back to physical prints. But for right now, it's not applicable. And if you send your images to a place like ACI or Marathon, they have people that will actually make sure that the images meet the specifications. It's essentially greater density. in order to look good at ISO 100 f16 in 1 second. And add borders to your images. One of the biggest mistakes I see for people that enter print competitions for the first time is to forget to add what they call a presentation or a border. And it's real easy to do. What I typically do is I look for colors that are actually in the image, and I'll add a stroke. I'll go into canvas size in Photoshop, and I'll add a stroke line of a 0.05 inches height and width, and then I'll go and add another color that's usually about an inch around that key line, and I can show you how to do that if you like, but it's a real simple approach, and you do it right, it really makes the image look nice. It doesn't have to be very fancy. Sometimes people go to a lot of effort to put in a real nice border that's textured or whatever, but I don't know that it adds a lot to it. Sometimes it can for the right image, but I think just adding the presentation is really important, because that is one of the things the judges will really knock you on. It's actually one of the elements of a merit print, so don't forget the borders. Anything that, so this is just basically in composition, and I see these mistakes a lot. When I used to teach photography, I'd see them a lot more. But in this example here, ensure that nothing sticks out of the subject's head, or you have just distracting things in the background, and that's something you have to do when you compose the image. Pay really close attention to the hands. The judges will really ding you. Make sure that when you don't want the hand to compete with the face. So for example, in this image here, the woman's hand is up by her face, but notice how she has her hand turned. So you're just kind of seeing the side of her hand. And even the hand, her right hand that's on the chair, is turned sideways. So you want to make sure that you're just looking at the side of their hands. And if you're going to crop it, don't crop a body part off at a joint. It makes them look amputated. And then of course, when you're posing, it's just a general, whether it's male or female, you want to bend anything that can bend. You don't want it to have a static pose. And if you're familiar with it, use the S curve for feminine poses, the C curve for male poses. And this just illustrates cropping at a joint. And it just shows the most flattering places to crop an image. You don't want to crop them right at the knees or right at the ankles or anything like that. We talked about this. Images should be presented on a mat, typically a black or white solid or a solid color. Now in this image on the top, I'm not sure I would, that's kind of a muted yellow. I think that's okay, but you don't want to use really bright colors as key lines, like yellow, bright yellow or bright red. You don't want anything that's going to detract the juror from looking right at the image. So you don't want to have a key line that's taking them out of the image. And sometimes really bright colors can do that. When you're doing a profile shot, make sure it's a true profile shot. So you don't want to see, like the image on the bottom, you don't want to see anything on the side of their face. You just want to see a complete profile. And if you're doing a 2/3 or 3/4 view, make sure that the nose doesn't extend past the far cheek, and that you can see a little skin on the outside of the far eye. And that image up there, you can look at his eye and you can see there's some skin there. You could actually, if it's 3/4, you could even turn him some more and still see some skin. But once you lose that skin on the far eye, then it's no longer, it's not going to do well in competition. When you can, show relationship between subjects. Look for triangles in groups of 3. Even when you're posing large groups of people, you want to look for triangles. Horizon lines, for the most part, you don't want to see the horizon line and smack dab in the middle. If the foreground is more interesting and the sky is boring, you want to put the horizon line up towards the top so you're seeing less sky. If the sky is more the subject, like the image in the middle, you want to see more sky and less foreground. Same is true for the image on the right. Certainly the sky is pretty, but the real interest in that photograph lies in the ripples on the water. So you want more of the foreground to show. Rule of thirds. I'm kind of ambivalent on this. I know it's a simple rule to follow. I have a landscape course I teach, and the rule of thirds, in my opinion, kind of approximates the dynamic symmetry or the golden ratio, but it's not perfect. So the rule of thirds is something to follow, placing the subject, the center of interest in the upper right, in the PowerPoint in the upper right or lower right, but it doesn't have to be right smack dab on that intersection. That's a general rule, and I would encourage you to look up dynamic symmetry and look up the golden triangle and golden ratio, because that'll give you an added perspective on composition. Leading lines, those are always good. You want the leading lines to take you into the area of interest in the subject. And it can be like a landscape image, or it can be a portrait. Frame within a frame. These are some examples. Color theory, color harmony. The bird, the bluebird, and the yellow flowers. Those are complementary colors. And the woman with the red dress and the green is near complementary. Make sure that when you're printing something dark, that you're not losing any of the shadow detail. One way of doing that is looking at your histogram. Hopefully you do this on your raw image, and you convert it to a TIFF file. But look at the histogram, and if you see that you've lost detail in the blacks, hopefully you'll be able to recover some of that. But you don't, especially when you're printing, because when you print, you tend to lose a lot of the black detail. So just make sure you don't crush the blacks. The same is true on the whites. You don't want to have any of the highlights blown out. So I talked a little bit about artistic or creative open. You can see the flower on the left, what they started with, what they ended with, and the diagram on the right as well, what they started with, what they ended with. So some additional opportunities to prepare for print competition. I don't know how many of you guys know Melissa Clapper. I know a number of you do. She's very graciously offered to have a print competition work day this coming Sunday from 8 to 4 at her studio, and that's her address. It's in Fremont. It's called Fern Creek Studio, and there's been she's posted it up on Facebook, so PPofN Facebook page, I should say, so you should be able to get the information there. And I think she said she only had 11 openings, and I don't know where she stands right now in terms of being full, but if you happen to be in the Omaha, Lincoln area, that would be a great opportunity to get some feedback. And as I mentioned before, if you are a PPA member, you can use your education credit to receive critiques on your images. I think it's a $30 credit, and it's $10 per critique. So just go to if you're a PPA member, go to the PPA website and do a search on image critiques, and you'll bring up the page that you see below there. So that's all I had to talk about. Well, all I can say, Misty, is I did record this, so it will be available for people to watch at a later point in time. When I was going through the slides, I couldn't see people coming up, so yeah. I see the people now. Okay. So I see some folks just joined, and I apologize. I didn't see you were waiting to come in. Melissa, are you on?
Yep, I'm on.
So I did you just talked about your workshop and how you've graciously offered to have a workshop on Sunday to help people with their images. I didn't know if you had any more room or not.
Yes, I actually do. I didn't know that if people didn't know they had to actually register so that I knew how many tables and chairs I needed.
Okay. Okay. So you guys all heard that, hopefully. Um, I'm going to try to make it out for the first part. I've got a commitment later in the morning, but I'm going to be out there at 9 if I can, Melissa.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Um, are there any questions? I think you guys can all unmute yourself. I gave you permission to unmute. So are there any questions about what I covered? It was quite a bit actually, because I mean, there's some significant changes from what we've done in the past.